So thank you everyone for having me. As you might know, I'm going to introduce you to JavaScript today. And so we are going to look a bit of what we can build with it, how it compares to Java, about which I heard you are already familiar with. And we are also going to look at the basic language concepts, so what you can use to write programs in JavaScript. And at the end, I'm going to leave you with some tutorials that you can use to further advance your progress in learning JavaScript. So hopefully this is going to be useful for you. Let's start. Let me introduce myself a bit as well before jumping in. So my name is Veronica Mihai. You can find me on Twitter at Veronica Mihai 90. I work as the senior software engineer at BBC Global News in London. I have over 6 years of experience with software development. And I studied electronics and telecommunications at the university. I started my career as an IoT developer and lately transitioned into web development, full stack. And yeah, that's pretty much it about me. Nice to meet you all. Okay, so let's start our journey into JavaScript. Not sure how familiar you are with JavaScript, but JavaScript is one of the most popular languages in the world and most widely used. It started off as being used exclusively in the browser, but in time it grew more powerful and more flexible, so you can find it on all sorts of devices currently. And you can also develop the very complex applications like the ones for machine learning, for example, that require a very complex and highly computational intensive tasks. So let's look a bit at each of these use cases of where we can use JavaScript. So when you open a page in your browser, that is a website. So basically everything that you open in a browser is called a website. But not all websites are equal. Like some of them are more complex than others. And some, for example, have only static content. So there's not much interaction with the content from the user. They just scroll around or they navigate between pages. And usually this type of websites already have a template that you can use to create them. So their programming effort is quite minimal. And JavaScript is the main language used to create this kind of websites. So let's look at some of the examples. For example, here we have a blog of recipes. Another use case, for example, is an online store for different kinds of products, like clothes in this example. You can also, for example, present your work as a photographer or any project that you worked on to create a portfolio. And if you have a business, you can also create a homepage for your business where your customers can find out more about you, can come visit you if you have a restaurant, for example. Okay, so those were static websites. A more complex form of websites is what we call applications. And applications don't live only on the browser. They can, for example, be installed on your desktop or on your phone home screen. And you can interact with them as regular native applications, but they are developed with JavaScript as well. Because applications have very dynamic content and very complex user interactions, sometimes they require, well, not sometimes, but usually they require additional frameworks built in JavaScript to ensure the best performance possible for the application, and as well to ensure that they can be delivered on different devices, so not just the browser. And you can see here different frameworks that can be used with JavaScript. So for example, Electron.js is a framework that can be used to develop desktop applications. React Native is a JavaScript framework that can be used to write mobile applications. So it allows you, for example, to interact with notification systems in your app, in your phone, and also to capture the sensors from your phone. So if you have gyroscope or some other sorts of sensors on your phone, you can send this data to your web app through this React Native framework. Also to account for the high data interactivity, there are frameworks to work with the database. So we have MongoDB and GraphQL, which ensure a good exchange of data. And Express.js can be used with Node.js on the server side to create like web addresses where you can gather the data for your application. So as you can see, it can be used both on the front end and on the back end. Okay, that is for the applications. Another use case for the use of JavaScript is to program IoT devices. So IoT stands for Internet of Things, and I think, as you might be familiar with, it's been trending for a while now. It's just a device connected to the internet that can gather data from the environment and send it to an application or to a computer. And usually to gather the data from the environment, we have these like mini computers that we call microcontrollers. So an example of a microcontroller is a Raspberry Pi, an Arduino, or an Intel Galileo. And this can be programmed to get the data from the sensors that you connect to them, and also to send it to your applications that can live in the cloud, for example. And usually JavaScript is not the main language, the preferred language to develop for this kind of applications, because it's very low level interaction with the hardware. But nevertheless, there is a framework like Johnny 5, which allows you to program your microcontroller in JavaScript. So and if you are interested in learning more about this, there are quite a lot of cool tutorials on the internet that you can learn more about and develop your own applications. You can, for example, you can gather temperature data and send it to your application, or you can create an application to inform you when your plant needs to be watered. So there are really cool cases for it. The most complex use case for JavaScript is machine learning. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about machine learning. I'm just going to say a bit what it is. So machine learning is the capability to teach computers something by finding patterns in data. So they work with a lot of data, and they try to see if they have seen something before, if it's similar, just to identify similarities in data sets. And just that's in very simple terms. And a use case for this would be to identify if there's a cat or a dog in an image, and also to forecast, for example, the weather data for the next week based on the previous data, or the weather data for last year, for example. Here again, JavaScript is not the preferred language for implementing machine learning algorithms, just because it's very computational intensive, but there is nevertheless a framework that allows you to work with JavaScript in machine learning as well, which is TensorFlow.js. Cool. Now that we have seen some of the things that we can build with JavaScript, let's discover some of the main functionalities of the language, main characteristics, and how it compares to Java, of which I heard you have some knowledge about already. And also feel free to ask any questions if you feel like. We are going to have an interactive exercise after this section as well. So hopefully that'll be more fun for you. Cool. So how does JavaScript compare to Java? They both share the word Java, but the doesn't mean they are too much related. Let's look at two of the characteristics of the language. So you have to know if a language is typed or not, and if a language is object-oriented or not. JavaScript is not doesn't have built-in typing capabilities, so all variables in JavaScript can be declared with var. You don't have to specify the type, or more recently you can use const and let to declare them. So const for constants and let for variables. It's just scoping syntax. Whereas in Java, as you might know, you have to specify the exact type of it. So if it's a text, you call it a string. If it's a number, you can say it's a double. If it's a floating point number, or if it's an int, you have to declare the exact type for the variable. Okay, so the other characteristic, object-oriented programming, JavaScript as Java is object-oriented language, so you can create classes and you can create objects using JavaScript. Nevertheless, the object-oriented model in JavaScript is not as powerful as the one in Java, so you cannot, for example, create interfaces in JavaScript, whereas you can in Java. Okay, so now that we know a bit more about JavaScript, let's see how we can actually use it to implement something, right? That's the exciting part. So let's see. I've created here an example in Kotlin that's where we can see how variables are declared, how we can create conditional and loop structures, how we can use functions, and how we can create objects and just use them in our project. At the end, we are going to have an exercise as well, just to change a bit some things in the code. Okay, so let's look at the program. So this is how it looks. We have this fluffy Pokemon here and a message at the top here, and some stars sprinkled on the page. Some are simple stars, some are smiling stars. And we can see here that we have 3 sections of our application. So what we can see is the DOM structure, so the document object model, and we can see here our elements. So we have a container element and a message container as well. And then we have this image with the fluffy Pokemon. As you can see here, the URL that's passed to the image. Then on the CSS part, CSS stands for cascading style sheets. So this is used to, for example, set the colors on the page, the position of this box here. And this is what we use classes for this. So we reference these classes in the document, and then we declare what the styles are going to do in the CSS style sheet. And besides these styling classes, we also have some helper classes for our stars elements that we are generating dynamically using JavaScript. So on the JavaScript side, we have this element here that we grab from the DOM. So for the message, and you can see we are setting the text here to hello friends. And then we call this function here, sprinkle stars, with a parameter of 12. And here we have, basically this is the what injects the stars. And here we have the function declared. So this must be very familiar to you in terms of syntax, because it's very similar to Java, I'm hoping. And so you have the function here, which declares two variables. So you can see we use const because these are constants, so their value doesn't change. And these are URLs for our star images. And this is a helper function that generates a random pixel value. We're going to see later what it is used for. And here we have our loop structure, right? A for loop. There are different kind of loop structure. This is just one type of it. And you must be familiar with it from Java because it's quite similar. So what does this loop function do? Basically, it goes from 0, right? We have the e equals 0 here to the number value, and it increments at each step. So for each step, it creates a new object of type image. So it is a DOM element, and it sets the position. So like where to be on the page. It sets the position absolute, and this is like the distance from the left and the distance from the top sets randomly. So every time this iteration is called, this is going to generate a new value. And then we also set this star class name just to specify the width and height of the star. Now we are going to introduce a bit of more complexity. So we have this condition structure here, which basically checks if our index number modulus 2, so basically it's equal to 0. Basically, we are checking if the index values is even or not. So an even number is one that is divisible by 2. So we have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12, right? Up to 12 here. So if our index iteration is divisible by 2, we're going to change the star to be a smiling star. So we want equal number of regular stars and smiling stars. And we also set this class here to be smiling star because we want it to be a bit bigger and we want to rotate it like 25 degrees. And then we add it on the DOM, the document. So document.body.appendChild, this is how our star element appears on the page. Cool. So now we've been through the program here in JavaScript. Let's see how we could change the let me see if I can put it in full view. So this is how it looks. You can see if you refresh, like the stars change position. There's always because it's a random position. Okay, so let's see now how we can change the display text here. Let's try to say hello world. How would we do that? Anyone wants to try?
How you do instead of friends world.
yeah, exactly. So we'll put here hello world, and world. Voila, we have hello world. How about if we want to display 50 stars instead of 12? How will we do that?
Where it says sprinkle stars 12, you need to make that 50.
Let's see if that works. So, and do we have 50 stars? Let me just change the view to full screen so we can see them better. And yeah, so many stars. Yeah, good job. Do you have any questions about the exercise, or do you want to change anything else to it? How would you change, for example, the background color? Do you like the background color of the page?
Is the background color in hex?
Yeah, this is a hex value.
Can you do FF0000?
FF0000. Let's see. Oh, red. Okay. There we go. Have a red background now. Is it? It didn't save. But yeah, it's red. Okay. How would you make, for example, the regular star bigger?
Where it says smiling star width, you could do 200 pixels and height 200 pixels.
100 pixels. Okay. See? The proportion is not quite right, but it's bigger. Yeah. How if we wanted to rotate it a bit more?
You would have to, at the star, you would have to do 100 pixels by, with the 100, like above there, at dot star.
This one?
Yeah, 100, 100.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so now we have regular stars bigger as well. So many stars. Let me put it back to 12. It's easier to follow. There are too many overlapping stars. Okay, nice. So how about we rotate the star a bit more? How would we rotate that?
You would change the rotate, like you could do, I think, 50 dBg.
The DG is the degrees. So yeah, this is how it's rotated. It rotates to the right. Okay, nice. How would you change the picture here? Do you want to show a different Pokemon on the page?
You would change the URL.
Anyone wants a specific image displayed?
Can you change
Which one?
There's a Pokemon named Toxicroak.
Oh, Toxicroak, Milo?
Toxic
Yeah, it's
Rogue?
probably my favorite.
Rogue. Milo?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's find an image. Which one is it? This one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's grab the image. So you can copy image address and then paste it here. Is it the right one? Oh, yeah, we have it. And what if we wanted to change the position of the
No. Make it a Pikachu.
Pikachu? You want a Pikachu?
Ninja Pikachu.
Let's see. I had a Pokemon dex somewhere. Had nice images of Pokemons. Let's see.
Pokédex.
Pokédex, yeah. Let's get Pikachu.
Pikachu.
You can copy the image as well.
Yeah.
And then
Pikachu.
you have Pikachu now.
Pikachu.
It's the same color as the stars. It's yellow.
Can you change the background color to hex FF0093?
9-3. Okay, yeah. Is this fuchsia or something?
No, yellow. Change it to yellow. I don't know what the hex is for that. What's the hex for yellow?
Well,
It's RGB.
for example, you can use a color picker and you can
Change the hex to FFFF00.
FFF 0, 0, like this. Oh, yellow.
Yellow.
I have yellow. Nice. Okay, guys. So we had fun with the exercise. Let's go back
Oh,
to
can you
presentation.
use the hex 0000FF?
0, 0, 0, 0, 0, FF. Blue. Okay. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean 00FF00.
FF
Green?
Yeah.
green. Yeah, not bad. Okay. Do you have any other questions around the program?
Take the hex 97FF00.
9, 7, FF00. It's like a mild green. It's better. Okay, let's quickly go back to the presentations. I'm not sure how much time we have left. Let me just talk with you about the like materials. Okay. So it's not one back to Pikachu. I shared the slide if you want to play more with Pikachu afterwards. So I added here some links that you can try for yourself, tutorials to learn web development and how to create static websites and as well applications, and also some references to the frameworks I mentioned in the presentations if you want to learn more. And yeah, that's all from my side. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, and I hope you'll have fun learning JavaScript.
I want to see Pikachu again.
You want to see Pikachu again? Let's see Pikachu. Well, we don't have Pikachu. Where is Pikachu? Here is Pikachu. Yeah, happy Pikachu.
What about orange background? What's the hex for orange?
Orange. I'm not sure, but you can pick.
I think the hex for orange is FF9. FF900.
900. It's still like a shade of
No.
yellow.
What I sort of want is I sort of want the link to this, so because I sort of want to just play around and change the color.
Wait.
Yeah, sure. I can share the link. I also added in the document, but let me see. I can't find the chat.
Julia, can you send it to me after?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit lost here. But I shared it on the chat, like in the document. You can find the link in the presentation.
Yeah, I can pass those on for sure.
Wait, can you make the hex color FFA 500?
FFA 500.
FFA 500.
500. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a
Orange.
shade orange. Nice. Okay, guys. Then that was all from my side. If you have any other questions.
What's your favorite part about Java?
Java or JavaScript? So
Oh.
JavaScript, because I don't work with Java as much. Or what I like is what I told you at the beginning, that you can use it like basically everywhere now. You can use it to create websites. You can also use it to develop mobile applications or program IoT devices, or just create machine learning algorithms. It's like really powerful, and you don't need to switch to so many languages.
Detective Pikachu.
Human Pikachu.
You animated Detective Pikachu.
Like a GIF. You want to inject a GIF on the page, or?
Sure.
Well, let's see. Pikachu GIF. If we can inject that.
Yeah, totally.
That one, or the Nyan Cat one, the one with the rainbow coming out of his butt.
I can't see it. That one.
That's good. That's good. That one's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see if it works. Here. Yeah.
Hello, world.
Really.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is Hello World usually the first thing you learn when you start coding?
Because programmers are so excited to let the world know that they have written a program, so they just tell everyone hello world. Yeah, I guess yeah, it was like the first program that was written in programming, and yeah, it was a basic text display, and what better to say than hello world, right?
Any other questions?
None except Pikachu, I choose you.
Well, thank you very much. This was awesome.
Thank you too. I'm happy you enjoyed it and you had fun.
The kids love this stuff, so.
Yeah, hopefully you'll continue on your journey to learn JavaScript, and you'll make awesome things yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you too.
Take care.
Bye.